Our meeting is called to order. Please call the roll.
Mr. Buckner?
Here.
Reverend Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Here.
Mr. Rowley?
Here.
Mayor Saunders?
Here.
Mr. Shanks?
Here.
Mr. Vogel?
Here.
Please stand for the invocation. Remain standing for the pledge tonight given by Council Member Albert K. Buddy Raleigh, Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let us pray. Father in heaven, we just thank you for another day and your gift of life. Father, we just pray your guidance and direction tonight as we do the business for the citizens of this great city. And Father, we just lift up to you our men and women in the armed services, whether they be domestic or foreign locations, and we just lift them up to you and ask you to please look after them, and especially look after their spouses and their family. Be with us tonight again. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Raleigh. Is Ms. Allen Dipple present? Ms. Allen Dipple present? Yes, ma'am. Will you come to the podium, please? I have a proclamation, and it reads, whereas disease is an irreversible and progressive brain disease that slowly erodes precious memories, thinking skills, and the ability to perform simple tasks. And whereas every 66 seconds, someone develops Alzheimer's, and by the year 2050, someone will develop the disease every 33 seconds. And whereas worldwide, nearly 44 million people have Alzheimer's or related dementia. And whereas in the U.S., there are 5.3 million people living with Alzheimer's disease, and unless a cure is found, it is estimated that as many as 16 million will have the disease by 2050. And whereas nearly 2/3 of all those with Alzheimer's diseases are women, and whereas Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, and whereas the Alzheimer's Association is the world's leading voluntary health organization in Alzheimer's care, support, and research with the vision of a world without Alzheimer's disease. And whereas the longest day on June 20th, a sunrise to sunset event symbolizing the challenging journey of those living with the disease and their caregivers, offered everyone the opportunity to get involved in the fight. And whereas, as the city of Danville offers its support to those living with Alzheimer's disease, we also recognize those who care and provide for them, sharing their loved ones' emotional, physical, and financial strain. And whereas we honor their compassion, remember those we have lost, and press toward the next great scientific breakthrough. Now, therefore, I, Sherman M. Saunders, Mayor, City of Danville, do hereby proclaim June 2016 as Alzheimer's Awareness Month in the City of Danville, and call upon our citizens to learn more about Alzheimer's disease and to support the individuals living with this disease and their caregivers. Given under my hand this 21st day of June 2016, Sherman M. Saunders, Mayor. Okay. And thank you for all that you do, and please feel free to have some remarks. Okay? Thank you very much. Let me just add again, I thank you, and on a very personal note, I lost my father-in-law to Alzheimer's, and I do understand what that means for family, neighbors, friends, and others. So again, we thank you, and we continue to pray for a cure. Communication. Those who wish to speak on any item not on the agenda will be heard at this time. If you wish to speak on any agenda item, you will be heard when the item is considered. There are rules for public hearings, and that should be on the, not public hearing, public comment, excuse me, and it should be on your agenda. Let me remind those, if anyone who wishes to speak regarding the dam situation, that is an agenda item, and you will be allowed to make your comments when we get to that item. Anyone wish to speak on any item other than the dam? Thank you. Is there a motion to approve our minutes of May 17? Mr. Campbell, is there a second? And Mr. Buckner. Discussion on the motion. Please call the roll.
Mr. Buckner.
Aye.
Reverend Campbell.
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller. Mr. Rowley.
Aye.
Mayor Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Vogler.
Aye.
Adopt an ordinance to amend the FY 2016 budget appropriation ordinance to provide for revenues from the Virginia Compensation Board. Council, your pleasure. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Gilstrap.
I move we adopt an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2016 budget appropriation ordinance to provide for revenues from the Virginia Compensation Board in an amount of $109,974 for the purpose of purchasing a vehicle equipment, office supplies, and temporary personnel, and appropriating same.
There a second? Mr. Rowley. Discussion on the motion. Please call the roll.
Reverend Campbell.
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Rowley.
Aye.
Mayor Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Vogler.
Aye.
Mr. Buckner.
Aye.
Adopting an ordinance to appropriate funds from Duke Energy. Open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak? Close the public hearing. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Vogler.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2016 budget appropriation ordinance to provide for the appropriation of settlement funding from Duke Energy Carolinas in reference to the coal ash bill for a total appropriation of $2,364,650.
Is there a second? Mr. Campbell. Discussion on the motion. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller. Mr. Rowley.
Aye.
Mayor Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Vogler.
Aye.
Mr. Buckner.
Aye.
Reverend Campbell.
Aye.
Adopt an ordinance to amend sanitation user fees. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Jones.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt an ordinance amending City of Danville Department of Public Works Sanitation user fees effective July the 1st, 2016.
Okay, there a second? Mr. Buckner. And Mr. Larkin, and I apologize for not asking you earlier, could you say just very briefly what this means? We're not increasing fees, we're just simply making some adjustment. Could you just say what the adjustments are? And I apologize for not giving you advance notice.
No problem. The adjustment is actually to lower the fees for the recycling service. The service will be provided twice per month instead of once per week. It'll be the first and third Thursdays, and people can sign up for curbside recycling for I think it's $90 per year, and we will pick up most any recyclable item in one container twice a month. And if you have more recyclables that can fit in one container, we'll provide you with an extra container. And I think it's a very good service that enables people to participate in recycling in the city at a fairly reasonable cost, saving them a trip to the drop-off bins. That's also another option for our customers.
I thank you, sir. And you did that without any notes. Further discussion? Mr. Vice Mayor.
Does that include glass?
It does include glass.
Mr. Campbell.
Does that include, I had a citizen ask me, does it include old TVs, the big?
We will, not in the recycle program, we will pick up bulky items on the curb on their regular trash pickup day. Just leave them
No
next
matter
to the
how big
trash
the
bin.
TV is?
No, in any size, yeah. And I'm looking over at our Public Works Director, and he's nodding. He'll tell me no if I'm saying something wrong, I'm sure. No TVs in the recycling. Will it be?
No
picked-
TVs, but they will pick it up. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller? Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Consideration of appointments to the following boards and commission. Mr. Vice Mayor, there are 17 appointments, and we ask that you read these, you may inhale, but do not exhale until you've read all 17 names. Okay, Mr. Vice Mayor?
Mayor, bear with me.
I'm
Council-
kidding, sir.
and
Feel free
council
to do what you
members.
need to do.
I'd like to make a motion for the following appointments. A resolution appointing Scott Brown, a member of the Airport Commission. A resolution appointing Michael J. Duncan as a member of the Airport Commission. A resolution reappointing Joseph B. Miller as a member of the Airport Commission. A resolution reappointing Charles D. Lampley as a member of the Building Code Board of Appeals. A resolution reappointing Frank T. Grogan III as a member of the DCC Board of Trustees. A resolution reappointing Tammy Warren as a member of the Danville Community Policy and Management Team. A resolution appointing Elizabeth A. Adams as a member of the Danville Community Policy and Management Team. A resolution appointing Ralph C. Price as a member of the Danville Development Council. A resolution appointing Philip Hall as a member of the Danville Development Council. We're halfway there. A resolution appointing Michael Mondole as a member of the Danville, Pennsylvania Community Services Board. A resolution appointing Reverend Rufus Fuller as a member of the Danville, Pennsylvania Community Services Board to fill the unexpired term of Constance Fletcher. A resolution reappointing Dr. Frank Wickers as a member of the Danville, Pennsylvania Community Services Board. A resolution appointing Trina McLaughlin as a member of the Danville Utility Commission. A resolution reappointing Michael A. Nicholas as a member of the Danville Utility Commission. A resolution appointing Crystal Farmer as a member of the Social Services Advisory Board. A resolution appointing Clarice Coleman as a member of the Social Services Advisory Board. And a resolution appointing James Edwards as a member of the Social Services Advisory Board to fill the unexpired term of Michelle Young. I think that's it.
Great job, Mr. Vice Mayor. Feel free to exhale.
I'll never know.
Is there a second? Mr. Jones. Discussion on the motion. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, I didn't hear everything that Dr. Miller read. Could he read that over? Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Adopt an ordinance to issue bonds. Council, your pleasure. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Raleigh.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt an ordinance authorizing the issuance of bonds of the city of.
I'm sorry, Mr. Raleigh. The attorney said I must have a public
Okay.
hearing. My apologies. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak? Close the public hearing. Mr. Raleigh, my apologies, sir.
No problem, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt an ordinance authorizing the issuance of bonds of the city of Danville, Virginia, with the maximum principal amount of $7,600,000 to finance the acquisition, construction, and/or equipping of various capital projects.
Okay, is there a second? Mr. Jones. Discussion on the motion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Okay, resolution to authorize removing the Long Mill Dam. If anyone here wishes to speak on that matter, now is your time to speak, and we remind you of the timer. Anyone wish to speak? Yes, sir. Well, a few questions.
We can use his public comment time for that.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Is any of the Duke Energy money gonna pay for this? That the city got from Duke Energy for the coal ash?
Is that part of the plan, Mr. Larkin?
If the city council authorizes removal of the dam or whatever expense associated with what happens with the dam, they'll have the option of using that to fund this. There's Duke Energy gave about $1.3 million in cash to the city of Danville which could be used for any purpose that the city council deems necessary. And that could be an option, but that would be up to city council.
All right, what about,
Excuse me, sir. Mr. Whitfield, you wish to add anything?
Yes, no, sir.
Yes, sir.
what about any coal ash that's left behind this dam, or PCBs, or any kind of contaminants? Has anybody checked for any of that?
Okay, excuse me, I'm gonna ask for your assistance, Mr. Whitfield. We're in a public comment period.
That's correct.
And this is when the public make their comment and raise a question, but we listen. We don't normally debate the issue.
That's correct.
So my question to you is, how do I handle this, sir?
Well, if we could write his questions down, and then whatever staff members Mr. Larkin may need to consult with can then answer those questions.
Okay? All right, is that a point of order?
I'm sorry, I did not catch the name.
Morris Lawson.
Okay, so what we need to do, we'll take your questions, we'll get answers for you. One was, will the Duke Energy money pay for any of this? That was
Right.
one question, your first question.
Right.
What was your second question?
I don't forget what I asked.
Coal ash.
Coal ash.
Oh, the coal
The
ash.
coal ash
I
behind the
know
dam.
there's coal ash behind one dam.
And Tuckton.
It's gotta be coal ash behind
Okay.
every dam, because that stuff caught, every flood we have washes more and more of it over. So it's gotta be catching behind each dam and settling.
So that was a comment as opposed to a question.
Well, it's a
About the
question,
coal ash.
a question, comment, whatever.
Okay.
However you wanna put it.
Okay.
Another thing is, you take this dam out, people go to this dam to fish for big catfish. That's why all the cars are sitting down there at night, daytime. They're gonna go to the Woodall Dam is the next dam they're gonna be able to stop at to fish. That dam is a whole lot more dangerous than the White Mill Dam. My point is, somebody will get drowned at Union Dam, because it is a lot deeper, a lot steeper. I fish both. I'm out in the river all the time in both places. They're both can be dangerous if the water's high. If the water's not high, this dam right here, you can walk up to it anytime you want to and back up against it. Right now, the nights you can back up against it. I just think people ought to use common sense and not get near the river while it's up. And that's when it's dangerous. But all these people that's coming here to fish, they come from everywhere. Richmond, Roanoke, Greensboro, High Point. They're buying food, drinks, bait, lodging. I don't think Danville's thinking about that. But if they tear the dam out, the fish are gonna move to the next dam next year. They come up here to spawn from the lake. So they're gonna move to the next dam up. I mean, when that dam gets dangerous for people standing behind it fishing, you gonna tear that dam out? And then the next one would be Schoolfield. We can't tear that one out. It's being power, Adam's being used. And another question I'd like to know, is either one of these dams on the historical registry?
Okay. We can answer for you.
That's all I got.
Well, because there was some confusion at the very beginning on my part,
Right.
I'll grant you an extra minute if you like it.
I mean, I just think they're making a mistake by tearing it down. It ought to be, they're worried about kids getting in the river. The kids' parents need to be watching them and using judgment. I mean, if it's a problem, build a fence at either end of the dam where nobody can walk out on this dam. I mean, anybody can drown in a teaspoonful of water. It ain't gotta be at a dam. And if you tear the dam out, the river's still gonna be there. If a kid gets out of the YMCA and wanders off, the river's still there. The dam might not be, but the river's still gonna be there. You can't reroute the river.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Sonia Ingram, I'm speaking on behalf of Preservation Virginia. Earlier, I emailed a letter to the mayor and city council and 2 attachments. I just want to point out a couple of things really quickly from that letter. One is the dam, the White Mill Dam is historic. It's the last remaining part of the Riverside Mill complex. It's also very likely the earlier Moratock Dam that was built on this exact same site 10 years previous to the Riverside mill complex. And this adds another level of historic significance to the dam. Besides the historical significance, I want to point out that other options definitely exist other than demolition that would satisfy everyone's concerns. They would provide the needed safety features for this river. They would save historical fabric of the city, and they would be less expensive than the demolition of the dam. And if you had an opportunity to review some of the information that was sent from the other jurisdictions, I just wanted to point out the rock ramps, which were used relatively recently in Franklin County on a low-head dam for the cost of $30,000, which is less than the stated demolition of the dam. And I think that would be something that would work well for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? Thank you. Okay, council, I've read the consideration for the resolution. What is the pleasure of council? Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I want to make a resolution authorizing removal of the Long Mill Dam located in the Dan River adjacent to the YMCA.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion died for lack of a second.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
The action that just was taken means the motion, the resolution has been defeated. Is that correct?
There's been no decision on the resolution.
I thought when there were, I thought a resolution or a motion without a second means it's defeated.
It's not defeated, but there would need to be another resolution. Maybe there would need to be another motion in order to do.
So you're saying this can come back at some point if council chooses to bring it back, what you're saying?
Clearly,
Right.
it can always be brought back.
Thank you. But I'm correct that the motion died for lack of a second.
That's correct.
Thank you.
But if somebody could make another motion that is not the same motion that was made tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Shanks.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that we make the following resolution. I move that the City Council affirm the first option presented in the work sessions and to the public, and that is the option to leave the dam in place with buoys, additional signage, and fencing.
I'm sorry, can you read that again, please? And I apologize for that.
Okay, yes, I move that the City Council affirm the first option that was presented in our work sessions. There were 3 options presented,
Okay.
and also presented at the public hearings. And that option is to leave the dam in place with the buoys, with additional buoys, additional signing, and fences.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Mr. Raleigh? Discussion on the motion. Mr. Raleigh?
Yes, sir. The reason that I second that, 2 weeks ago, we did a straw poll when we had the work session. And I raised my hand that I would be in favor of taking the dam down. And since that time, I've had approximately 200 emails, texts, calls, or in person. It's been at least 2 to 1 of people wanting the dam to stay. And I would say the 99% of those that wanted to said, just like the gentleman that came up, you know, it's the parents' responsibility, it's personal responsibility. I understand this is a different low-head dam than the one we took down. I agree about the deep water, but accidents happen. And I was for this because of the family that lost a son 5 or 6 years ago. I knew that family. And I really didn't want to have that on my mind if something happened. And I'll have to admit, Dan River owned that property on both sides of the river. It wasn't a lot of access. And I'm telling you, sometimes people don't use very good judgment. We can put all the signs we want up, but somehow we got to keep them off of that thing because somebody's going to get hurt sooner or later. And but I've listened to the people, and the people that have contacted me are saying we want to keep it up. So that's why I second it. I'm in favor to keep it as it is. I know that it could come back to council at any given time to take a vote to take it down. But that's kind of my reasoning why I'm going to vote to keep it as is. Way more than the majority have told me they'd like to keep it up. I just hope that people, if we vote to do this, to keep it up, that people will be very diligent about telling people to stay off the darn thing. And if you're gonna fish, let's fish. Let's get down there. So when it's not high water, it's 4 feet deep. I've been out in it too. I mean, and let's fish, but we don't need to be up on top of it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've gotten quite a few phone calls and comments, not 200, but I've gotten a lot of calls. My major reason for wanting the dam to come down, number one priority was safety, and secondly would be economic development, which I think would be a strong asset. The gentleman made a very strong point that I hadn't thought about, that what's the difference between that dam and the Union Street Dam? If Rick could answer that, I really would appreciate that, or give a comment. When I talked to some of the city staff, the major concern that the city had was safety. So what about Union Street Dam? That's
Well, the answer
higher
is
than others.
there's no difference. Union Street Dam is also a low head dam, and the possibility of someone drowning at Union exists right now and will exist as long as it's in. We were recommending that the Longmill Dam be removed because of the trail access right at the dam and the proposed park that's going in there and the safety of the dam. This is one that we can remove fairly simply and fairly cheaply.
The Union Street, that has the trail right next to it also.
It has the same characteristics. If someone fell off the edge of that overlook into that
Yes.
oil below, they would not be able to survive that. You can't swim in it. Even if you have flotation devices, they won't float.
So in the long run, you think that, just hypothetically, your opinion that the city should demolish the Union Street Dam
I
also?
think there is a difference in spite of what Preservation Virginia says. This dam, the Longmill Dam, is not listed. It may be deemed a contributing historic resource, but it is not listed, and the Union Dam is listed on the register.
Mr. Mayor, I really think that we need to do more discussions on this in some way. There are a lot more issues here, because I did personally vote to bring the dam down. My main objective was safety, but I see here that we have other issues in other parts of the river that we need to consider also, and I'm kind of feeling like Buddy in a way, that we just need to have more discussion on it.
Okay, we have, thank you, Mr. Campbell. We have Mr. Vogler, Mr. Shanks, Mr. Jones, myself, and Mr. Buckner. So, Mr. Vogler?
Yeah, I want to start out by saying that I was not in favor of a complete removal of this dam, and so I was glad to see that did not happen. However, I do want to clarify that what my goal coming in tonight, what I was hoping we would do, was just to table the motion and send it back so that we could do more research on this, because I think we had three options presented to us, one of which was very expensive, at least in the way it was presented to us. One of which leaves everything as is, but also has to, which is what Councilman Shanks has proposed here tonight, but has to have additional signage and other things put in place. And then, of course, the complete removal. You know, some of us have done more research, and I'm not going to take a whole lot of time talking about it, but there's other places that have done things. Elkader, Iowa is one of them, where they created a whitewater rafting park and, for the most part, left the dam intact, the Lowhead Dam. They punched chutes through it to create flow-throughs, but it was not a complete removal of the dam. The majority of the dam was left in place, but it did remove the danger hazard that was present there. I would like for us to look at those options. I'd like for us to reach out to some of these places that have done some of these things. So when the first motion died tonight, that left everything kind of as is. The current motion in front of us is to make a decision tonight, which would involve spending money on signs and things like that. I would still prefer us to go back in a future work session and discuss more than just the three options that were presented to us. I think there are other things that we can discuss and consider. Larry and other people have brought these points up. None of us want a safety issue to happen, but I'm not convinced that the current options we had to choose from are the only options, and so I'm not sure that I want to even vote to affirm the current motion on the floor, because I'm not sure that that's the best option. I mean, what we have in front of us now is the quick solution, but I'm not sure that it's the right solution. So I would prefer us still to go back to a work session and discuss multiple options, and I'm not sure that this current motion allows for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Mr. Shanks?
Yes, and I want to have a couple minutes to explain why the current motion is the proper motion, if you don't mind, Mayor. Personally, I'm surprised that we're debating this matter now after the first time it came before us in a work session on the budget. If it wasn't unanimous, it was almost unanimous that we asked that they come out of the budget. And then surprisingly, 2 or 3 weeks later, it shows back up in the work session. I thought we had taken care of it for this year. We took it out of the budget. But then it just pops back up. I don't know if any other council member asked for it to pop back up. I didn't, but it did. So here we are having this debate. And since we are having this debate, the Long Mill is an asset to our community. And those of you who have heard from the public know that's very true. I've heard from the public. Councilman Campbell has heard from the public. Councilman Raleigh has heard from the public. I'm sure y'all, the rest of you have too. And it's been overwhelmingly in favor of keeping
No.
the... I'm sorry,
It's
may I
not
finish?
been. Yeah, but it's not been. Go ahead.
I would like to speak without being interrupted.
Go ahead.
Mr. Shanks, you have the floor.
Thank you. So, that all of a sudden we're discussing this matter and we don't know what we're going to end up when the dam comes down. It's that Long Mill is an asset to our community, and with the regulations that are in place now, if we decide we made a mistake, we can't put it back up, even if that, we wouldn't. But if we get to the point where we get to the river bottom that's going to end up being our future, we might rather have the dam back up, and that's not going to be an option. We have no idea what it's going to look like with the water level down 5 feet. We don't know what the channels are going to look like. We don't know what the bank and the shoreline is going to look like. Let me tell you right now, the water that's backed up is backed up at the dam. The water is 130, the river water is 130 feet wider at the dam than it is just upstream from the dam. Now you drop that down 5 feet, imagine what that's going to look like. So we don't know for sure what it's going to look like, but you can certainly get an idea of what it could look like if you drop the water down 5 feet and it goes up a river for halfway to the Union Street Bridge. We don't know what the banks are going to look like. The river is certainly wider because of that dam and deeper because of that dam behind the dam. There are several points that have been made that are benefits for destroying the dam. But the dam is a scenic dam. Just like most things in life, there are two sides to every story, and we've been fed one side. The first benefit that has been brought up is that lowering the 100-year floodplain will take place. That statement cannot be taken as an absolute truth without a HECRAS computer flood model run to know what that surface is. I'm a civil engineer. I know and have run those models. You can't wave your arms and say what the results are going to be. You have to put in the data and run it through. Now, I will admit that immediately upstream, for a short distance, 100 or 200 feet, it's very likely the floodplain will lower a little bit. For a few hundred feet downstream, it's very likely the floodplain will raise a little bit. So, without doing the study, though, you're not going to have what that little bit is, whether it's a foot or 2/10 of a foot. You just don't know. So John Crane with the Registration Bee did an article, and when I had made those statements at the public hearing, John Crane did a little digging and ran into the expert from the University of Tennessee, Dr. Chahomps, Dr. Chahomps. He's a doctor from the University of Tennessee. He is also Professor Emeritus there at Tennessee. He said if the proponents are saying, he said that lowering By knocking out the dam, there's no way of knowing what effect that would be on the floodplain. Well, look, this is one of the big benefits that are being presented to us is the floodplain's coming down. Others have argued that economic development would be the benefit. Well, how can you argue that? Some people like to see still water and reflections off of the still water, and they want their business to be in that environment. Some people like to see running water. So, but if you don't know who's going in there, how do you know that's a benefit? How do you know that's a benefit if you don't know what the person that's going to locate there wants to see? So you can't just say it's going to be an economic benefit. Another argument is the historical benefit. Well, I argue that that dam is historical and it's part of the mill history and should be recognized as that, and there should be some mural or some signage that shows what that dam was all about and what the canal was all about and what the mill was all about. That's appropriate for something on the trail. Then there's the argument about city liability. That's not exactly true either. We, in the work session, the last work session, we were presenting information where the courts have ruled that signage and buoys was sufficient to eliminate liability as an issue for the city. There were 5 or 6 cases right there. The very first one was on the Maury River. The town that was involved there was guilty and liable, but once they put up the signage and once they put up the buoys, they no longer were liable. The final benefit presented by the proponents is the river will be safer without a dam. Yes, it will be safer. But with the proper signage and buoys and personal responsibility, as was mentioned here and over here earlier tonight, the river can be as safe as many other things that we do in our normal life. Walking down the street, driving a car, swimming in a river or the ocean, even taking a bath. One letter to the editor stated that statistics from 2010 through 2014, there were 80 drownings at low-head dams in the United States. Well, that's 14 or 15 a year. Another letter to the editor said in 2011, I'm sorry, I don't have that stat with me, but there was another argument that basically came out to 15, it was a letter to the editor, came out to what averaged to be 15 deaths a year in the United States. So I'm asking that we put to rest this first issue of removing the dam. We can certainly go ahead and further discuss and look into other options about whitewater bypasses or something like that. But let's get this issue resolved so that the people that do care, and there are a lot of them if you answered your phone or your emails, let's get this off their minds and move on to more important things. So please, I ask my fellow council members to support the motion as presented, that we take essentially the first option presented to us, and that's the option that additional signage and buoys and fencing be installed, and we will meet our responsibility for warning the public, and then it's the responsibility of the public, just like in many other aspects of life, of living and being careful in what they do on a daily basis. Thank you.
Ms. Jones?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank Rick and the entire department for Public Works for bringing this to us. One of the reasons that I stated last week to John and to all of the council members that I was going to vote down to take this dam down was because after hearing about the young man who died, I actually went out to the dam. And I noticed a lot of people out there, even today. And when I went out there today, people were walking around on that dam, and it kind of made me nervous. I know we said people need to use common sense, but then I saw children out there today, even young children. I will not be supporting this motion, but I will support the motion even if I have to make it to table this, because I think that's what we're doing now. We're having a discussion, but I would like to hear more options, because as the Public Works Director and all the staff has told us, and what I've seen for myself, not only have I gotten a lot of phone calls, I've had people who approach me and my family at dinner. And one of the things the little old lady said to me, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to follow her advice, She said, Mr. Jones, I feel the same thing that you feel, but I feel like the dam should stay up. Why don't you all discuss it a little bit more? So I'm going to follow her advice, Mr. Mayor. I will not be voting for this motion, but I hope that we can have a motion that we can discuss this further. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have a couple of comments, and then we have Mr. Buckner and the Vice Mayor. Mr. Larkin, I hope this is in order. Mr. Gilly, still here? Could you come forward, please? And I'm talking about plan for the city, park study, so on and so forth. Safety has always been concern one for me, and I believe all 9 of us are concerned about the safety of the river, the dam. It is absolutely beautiful, gorgeous to look at, very serene. However, safety is a factor. I am seeing more traffic along the river than before. We're making more developments along the river. The YMCA is just one. There are plans for more, a park, and there may be other, and there are other entrances as well. So my concern is safety because of the increased traffic along the river. So my question to you, Mr. Gilly, and again, I didn't give you advance notice either. As we look at the park, as we look at safety, with the technology of today, can consultants generate models to show how it will look with the dam down, how it will look with the dam up, building in certain safety features? I guess my question is, can, in your view, more options be generated that can show us the safety features, the danger features, and give us more thought for a decision? Is that possible?
It is possible. That hasn't been budgeted at this point, so we haven't invested in any of that. But yes, it is possible to have, as Councilman Shanks said, a different hydrological analysis done. And as part of that analysis, they can do some renderings on what it would look like taken away through the multitude of different options that have been presented to us. It is possible to do, but that hasn't been budgeted as far as I know, so that would require some additional funding that we would have to come back to you and ask for.
Okay, and I want to ask you approximately how much, because we haven't had a chance to study that.
I have no idea on that.
I thank you for that.
Okay.
Okay, so again, thank you, sir.
Sure.
Again, for me, safety is a factor. I know all of us, we look at the river. I looked at it again for the most recent time, roughly about an hour and a half ago. And there are people out there in the water fishing, okay? And there are people near the dam. And I looked at it from both sides, from this side of the river, from the YMCA side of the river, and there are people just out there fishing near the dam, and adults, from what it looks to be to me. But with the increase in traffic along the river, I'm concerned about safety, and I think safety is being more placed at risk. That's my view. Mr. Buckner.
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to table Councilman Shank's motion and postpone this indefinitely until we can get more time to discuss other options. There's several more options out there that we hadn't discussed yet. My phone's been ringing off the hook. We've been getting all kind of emails. There are other options that we hadn't been presented. Lots more things we need to look at. But I would like to make the motion to postpone this indefinitely.
Second.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Parliamentarian, am I correct? Once a motion is made to table, that ends the debate, and we call for the vote on the motion.
It has to be, the motion to table must be disposed of first, correct?
So I am correct.
You are correct, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Vice Mayor. Please call the roll.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Mayor Irvin Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller? Mr. Rowley?
This is my last meeting.
No worry.
I hate to pass things on. I want to see the dam stay, but I'll say aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
No.
Adopting ordinance to appropriate funds, economic development project incentives. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Buckner.
Mayor, I'd like to approve an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2017 budget appropriation ordinance by transferring $1,659,144 from the fund balance of the general fund for economic development project incentives and appropriating the same.
There a second? Okay, now Mr. Jones, discussion? First reading. Communications Manager.
I have nothing this evening. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Attorney.
I'd just like to wish Councilman Raleigh well.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Nothing, sir.
Okay, before we continue, Mr. Raleigh, will you please stand, sir?
Oh, gosh, yes, sir.
It is my honor, on behalf of your colleagues here on council, to present you with a token, not a check, a token of our appreciation for your service, and something we hope that you will remember us by. And when you're either home watching us on television, and you're laughing, you're shaking your head, you're calling us all kinds of jerks, or whatever you want to call us, feel free to do that. You've earned it. But I want to present to you a plaque. And it reads, I'll bring it to you, sir. Okay. It reads, presented to Albert K. Buddy Raleigh, Jr. in appreciation for your 10 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Danville. City Council presents this October 1, 2002, you served, through October 8, 2004, July 1, 2008, June 30, 2016. And we thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. I do have some remarks. Okay.
Before we have the roll call, I'm going to ask Mr. Raleigh, feel free to say anything you want to.
Not anything.
That's right. Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity. I do have some remarks that I'd rather just go ahead and do now, and then at roll call, I have a little something else. But you know, in life's journey, you know, you're a lucky guy if you or gal if you get to do things you really like to do. And I like this job. I really like being a part of a city that I love. It's been so good to me. And just some brief comments. First and foremost, I want to thank my wife, Debbie. We just celebrated our 42nd wedding anniversary a couple of weeks ago. She has backed me in every project, club, position that I belong to or work for. Needless to say, she has spent countless hours alone while I was off pursuing my own community desires. She is my rock, and oh, what a spirit that woman has. She is home tonight with our visiting grandchildren, who my granddaughter, Addison, I know you're watching on TV, turned 6 today. Happy birthday. And my grandson today was diagnosed with strep throat, Sawyer. So here again is my wife, Debbie, staying at home and holding down the fort. I love you, Debbie Raleigh. A big thank you goes to my employers over these 10-year period that backed me in council work and time away from the job, and that was Dan River Incorporated, Danville Community College, and Averett University. I want to thank all of the councilmen, and I had women down, but I think it was only one woman. I think it was Ruby was the only woman that I served with over my 10 years on council. I have learned so much from each of them. They have my utmost respect for trying to make Danville a better place for its citizens. To this current council, I only say, stay the course that you have set in motion and in place. I see some big wins in the near future for the citizens of Danville and surrounding region. In closing, I want to thank the citizens of Danville for the privilege it's been for me to serve you. In hindsight, I've made some poor decisions, and hopefully I've made a few good decisions. But I promise you, I was always trying to do the right thing by the people that I served. Thank you, Danville, for these awesome 10 years. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yeah, I'd like to first off say congratulations to all the people who are appointed to the various boards and commissions tonight. We really appreciate your time and energy that you're looking to put into this community. It's a thankless job, but we all thank you very much. Mr. Raleigh, thank you so much for all you've done for this city in the past 10 years. Thank you very much for all you've done for me. You've always been there for me when I need something. If I have a question, I can call you. You'll call right back every time. I'd also like to say happy birthday to Addison, if she's at home watching. Your grandfather's a very good man. He's done a lot for this city, and look forward to seeing you out in the community, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Reverend Campbell. Reverend Campbell.
Yes, buddy, I have enjoyed working with you, and it's I'm a product of Avery, and the connection we have. Also, going way back in high school, we played on the same football team.
Way back.
Yeah, back in 1968, 69, 65 to 69. But being on council has been very enjoyable.
Thank you.
And I think the last thing that you stated that you'd like to be done in the city of Danville is dealing with the geese. So we're gonna make an amendment to see can we get you a shotgun. And legally you can start shooting. But it's been an enjoyable time working with you here on council. We just want to remind the citizens about July 4th, that July 4th will be happening before we have our next council session, and that enjoy yourself, be here for July 4th celebration. Park and Recreation has some exciting things that they're doing on that evening. And it's so good to hear about the economic things that are coming to our area and possibilities of things happening in the mega park and other areas of our community. Danville is really on the move. And buddy, once again, I'd like to thank you for the time that you have served to help the city to move forward. Thank you. Because you have played a big role in doing that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. And you talked about you and Mr. Raleigh playing football. Did one of those tackle and knock all the hair off your head?
All I got to say, I had hair before I came on council.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Gilstrap.
It has been an honor and a pleasure. Privilege of serving with you, buddy. Yeah. And I thank you very much for your service. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
You have the right name. I like calling you around, buddy. I have a gift for him, Mr. Mayor.
Lord have mercy.
This is every time, Addison, I hope you're paying attention to this. We have in our work session, we have this little small plate of snacks. And I say small plate, hoping that Ken Larkin would enlarge this plate of snacks. And Mr. Raleigh and I, Addison, your granddaddy and I, we have the same taste. And so when we get there, he'll run in and get the same thing that I want. So I'm gonna show Addison what I purchased for her granddaughter. We both got the same peanut M&Ms.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. Buddy, thank you for everything. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
He sits beside me. You will share it.
That's right.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to serve with you, buddy. We're going to miss you, especially your expertise and debate, and it's going to leave a big gap. But you can sit back and watch these and laugh if you watch us struggle. But you did a great job. I want to apologize to Mr. Shanks. I got a little carried away, but mine's been 8-1 in favor of taking the dam down. And people didn't know. I've given the arguments both sides, and invariably, if they heard the arguments, and the major gorilla in the room is public safety. I have a patient who's 37. His father had a heart attack at 40, his brother at 41, his uncle at 44, but he wasn't going to have a heart attack. So he kept smoking, he kept eating poorly, he didn't exercise, and at 37 he had his heart attack, and now he has permanent scar. So to say this, because it hasn't happened at this dam, it happened over there, but it can't happen here, is not logical. It will catch up with you. It will catch up with this dam. So public safety-wise, it's just like the fire chief told me last week, it's better to prevent a fire than put it out afterwards. It's better to prevent a drowning than go try to rescue somebody, putting the life-saving crew and the person at jeopardy. So I think public safety is the main issue here. It's time to let our river go free. It's time to open up the river. And historically, predating the dam was Winds Falls. That dam's cutting right through the middle of Winds Falls. We need to have a monument or something there to say this is the site where Danville was found, but it's covered up by the dam, most of those falls. Finally, Mr. Gilstrap and I attended the Vigil of Light at the Epiphany Church last Sunday, and that was very moving and very sad, especially the part where they read the names of all the people that had been killed last year in South Carolina at that church, and this year in Orlando, 50-some people killed there. It was just tragic. We lighted a candle for everybody that died, and it's sad. We're killing ourselves in this country. We've got to stop the killing. Happy 4th of July. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rowley?
Mr. Mayor, one other thing that I wanted to set straight. Last night at 7:26 p.m., Mr. Leonard Harville put out on Facebook, Danville Police, Fire, and Life-Saving Crew are responding to Averett University's northern campus for a 17-year-old female that had been assaulted. I just want to get the people in the public to understand what happened. He is entirely wrong, as he is most of the time. Averett University hosts a passport camp for the last week and for the next 5 weeks. On Monday nights at our North Campus, not Northern Campus, but at Averett's North Campus, they have a fun evening after they go out and do work in the community. And they have a water feature that they do, and they jump around on it and all, and 2 of the young ladies hit heads. And we didn't know if she had a concussion or not, so we sent her to the emergency room, and she came back after they checked her out, and she was fine. But there was nobody assaulted at Averett's North Campus. And how this man can put stuff out there like that, I have no idea. But Leonard, I'm calling you out on this one, my friend. It is not right, and you wouldn't believe how many people who read this and believe it and have answered 10 and 12 answers, you know. I just can't believe how unprofessional this has been. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Shanks?
Yes, I just had 3 or 4 comments. First of all, getting back to the dam issue, I'd just like to explain to my fellow council members that I in no way was making a motion to remove looking at options for the dam. I was only trying to satisfy the issue of whether the dam should be removed or not. And I'm sorry we couldn't come to a conclusion with that matter, but that was my intent. On a more pleasant note, I certainly have enjoyed my 8 years serving with Mr. Buddy Raleigh. I think of all the members over the last 8 years that I've worked with, Buddy and I have probably talked and worked together more than any others, and I don't mean that as a slam on anybody. I just say we just seem to have a lot of conversations and debates and considerations together, and I respect Mr. Raleigh for all of his knowledge, his wisdom, sage wisdom, and his advice. I certainly have enjoyed working with you, sir, and I wish you the best It has truly been an honor and a privilege to be on council with you, and I hope that you and Debbie and family have a wonderful rest of the time together. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Vogler?
Yeah, I also was able to attend, or for the most part, I had to leave a little early, attend the visual. I saw you guys sitting up there. I had Kingston with me, so I was in the back. He tends to get a little vocal sometimes, so I had to keep him out of way. But and it was a tremendous ceremony. I want to give a quick shout out to the Danville Fire Department for the great job that they've been doing. We've had, those of you seen in the news, we've had some pretty bad fires here in the last week or so, and they've been out there going above and beyond, doing a fantastic job. So I just want to recognize the work that they have done, continue to do, and have done in the past. They do a great job. Buddy, and I don't know how to put it all together, but when we were running, I guess in 2012, Buddy used to like to joke and tell people that he'd known me since I was in diapers, which is true. My family and his, we went to church together when I was a little boy, and then years later when I was at DCC as a student and playing ball there, Buddy was there, and of course these last 4 years on council. And I've enjoyed it tremendously, particularly these last 2 years getting to sit beside you. And thankful we have these mute buttons here sometimes. But I really have enjoyed it and respect you tremendously. And as you mentioned, I think there's going to be some very big wins for this city and this region in the months ahead.
Yes.
And I hope you will be at every one of those announcements because you've been very much a big part of it. And I have enjoyed serving with you tremendously. And Madison, welcome aboard. Thank you, Mayor.
That's it.
Thank you.
Mayor Saunders?
Buddy, I knew you when you worked at Danville Mills.
Yes, sir.
And I got to know you and build a friendship serving on council. I've always known that you are a family person, you value family, and you love your family. I also remember when your dad was my neighbor on Cumberland.
Yes, sir.
And you come by and visit him, and you pick him up and take him for a ride. And I think that's just wonderful. Family is very important. So you will have a lot of time to not only reflect, but again, as I said before, watch us on TV or come down in person, you know? And I hate to think of some of the things you may be saying to yourself in your home while watching us. Some funny and maybe some not so much. But I just remind you, we do have boards and commissions here in the city. You are eligible and you are certainly qualified to serve on all of them. So don't be surprised when you get a call asking if you have entrance to lend your talent and your skills. But more importantly, enjoy yourself, enjoy your family, and please have a wonderful life. And thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
For
I'm
all
not going
that you
anywhere.
do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.